I don't think people should give up on big tech. I know there's this sentiment there's going to be this massive shift into small cap, massive shift into anything but tech. I still think tech is going to be leadership. Just got to be careful with valuations, Steve.
The problem is the market, as you know better than I will ever know, doesn't wait for the right valuation to get gung-ho on any story as well. In fact, it works both directions as well. The fact that these stocks are cheaper, does that actually make you think, look, I'm close to where I'd really like the valuation, but actually it's close enough?
I don't think it's close enough, but it's definitely getting closer. I don't think it has to go down another 20% overall tech. If you go down another 5-10%, I think you start to get into opportunity territory. So you're absolutely right. These are momentum stocks in the end, right? We see what happens to momentum stocks. There have been some that have had some challenges. Tesla, for example, is one that comes to mind that was a momentum stock that certainly has its difficulties as of late. So if you're in a momentum stock, you better be sure about the river that stock is in. In other words, the direction that they're going as a company is going to go with the environment, such as AI and chip makers in AI. Because if you don't, you're going to get strung out to dry and you're going to be in a dot-com situation again. And we don't want that, obviously, for investors.
Michael, so far we've gotten Tesla and Alphabet in this market picture, in the earnings side of things. Then we have the others coming as well this week. How significant will this earnings picture be this week then for the determining factor of that leadership that you speak about still being tech?
I think it will be significant. Tesla has some unique challenges, obviously. Google, it was more, I guess, about softening ad revenue. Well, it's still a pretty reasonable report, and certainly not capitalizing fully yet on their AI initiatives. But I do think investors are looking for some confirmation that they can trust what their earnings are going to look like for big tech. And I think if you have earnings that are halfway decent and you have the Federal Reserve continue to posture as if they're going to be accommodative, I think that actually points a pretty clear positive picture going forward into the fall.
How much more, shall we say, election risk is involved in this market now, following on from what you've seen with Vice President Harris coming into the race now as well, and just the upturn you've sort of seen as well in her numbers?
Yeah, well, so let's be clear what data says the presidential election means, say, 3 months after the market. The data suggests it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it's whoever it is. What does matter is in the lead up to the election, you're going to have lots of trial balloons floated. We had one that was just floated today, where former President Trump talked about Bitcoin, for example, and what might that do for Bitcoin-related stocks. So I think you're going to see a lot of sentiment swings based on proposals. Let's say someone comes up and says insulin is now going to be $1 per treatment. Well, what is that going to do to insulin makers, right? So it's going to be the same thing with automakers. What if automakers are going to lose subsidies? What if automakers are going to be penalized because of taxation coming from Mexico? So I think that's what investors need to be looking at is up to the election. What swings happen based on sentiment, based on trial balloons? That's where I think the opportunity is, rather than thinking if so-and-so gets elected, it automatically means the market's going to go up, because history has proved that's just not the case.
Michael, interest rate decisions here at the Bank of England, we think could be interesting one, but the Federal Reserve not as interesting this time around. Is it all about the signalling for September?
Yeah, probably. I'm of the belief that in all likelihood there will be signaling of lower rates, as there already has been. I'd be kind of surprised if at the next meeting they actually cut rates. Although, as I'm sure you know, market or economist sentiment and so-called market watchers are factoring anywhere from 2 to 3. We think 2, maybe on the outside, maybe 1 to 2 is more reasonable. But I do think the Fed is going to continue to drop interest rates, to push interest rates lower by threatening accommodation. Remember, the Fed changes rates with their reserve rate, but they also change rates with their words. And they've been active. Powell's been very active doing just that.